Hello and welcome to another mini tutorial from Upvc Spares for Repairs, and today we're trying to show you how to remove the full door locking mechanism from a Upvc door, and we'll also show you how to replace it as well. The first job is to remove the handles from the door. The screws are on the inside of the house. There's usually 2 or 3, but remember, if ever you find that the screws are on the outside of the house, make sure when you put the handle back on that you put the screws on the inside for security reasons. So, 1, 2 screws on this door, and then remove the handle carefully, both sides. And also there might be some springs behind the handle to help the handle work. Remove one of them and pull the bar out through the door. Keep them all together nice and safe. The next thing to remove is the door locking cylinder. And the locking cylinder is secured by one single screw, which is usually located directly opposite the bottom of the cylinder itself. Slightly larger than all the other screws down the side of the door. Simple screw removal. Now, this is the tricky bit. When you come to release the cylinder, at the moment the cylinder will not move. When you put the key into this lock and turn it to either 5 past 12 or 5 to 12, depending on which side you offer the key from, that will then align the bar that sits within the centre of the cylinder so it slides out. When you then remove the key from the cylinder, you'll discover that it sits to one side. That's what prevents the cylinder being removed without the key being in it. Next, we'll remove the whole of the mechanism by removing the screws that are up the side of the door. Those screws are the posi drive type screws. Be careful. Sometimes there are other screws there which are machine screws, and they are designed to hold in place the locks and the hooks that are on the back of this plate. If you remove those, potentially it could fall inside the door and slide down inside the cavity, and you'll then have to remove the door from its hinges to retrieve it. So we'll start from the top and we'll get those unscrewed. This screw is just above the machine screw. The machine screw usually has a different sort of head on it, so you should be able to recognise it. And obviously a machine screw will come out of the door slower because the thread is a lot finer. So that's the one just above the main lock. So this one's down here, and we'll continue then to the bottom. On this particular lock, this is a full length, but it doesn't have what we call the chute bolts that fire out at the top and the bottom of the door. So if you encounter a door which has got the chute bolts, usually you're able to remove this mechanism without having to take that chute bolt away. The joint is usually about here. If you do find that you've got a chute bolt that is failed, then unfortunately you're going to have to take the door off the hinges, because they're usually secured by screws to the top and the underside of the door. So that will mean another job, removing the door from the hinges. So this mechanism should just now, while all the screws are out, should just simply pull out of the door. If the door's been milled to the correct sizes and it's not stiff to get in, it's going to be obviously easier to get out. So we've now pulled out the mechanism. And the one thing that our customers have been asking us is when they go on our website, they notice that the size of the overall length of our mechanism is far longer than what theirs is. And this is why. When the fabricator on the factory floor orders in the locks, he orders in the locks at the same length that we sell them. The only difference is when they choose the size of lock that they need for the door that they are fabricating, each door is built at a different height, so therefore they have to cut the locks down to size. So that's the reason that there's a difference in heights. So we've removed the door lock now in one piece and the new one's arrived. So what we'll do is lay this one on top of the new one and use the spindle through the hole, lay it down and clip the two together, and then check that each of the boxes and the positions of everything are in the correct place, and then mark the strip to the right length to be cut. But just beware, if you cut the lock and you haven't checked it, we won't be able to take it back, I'm afraid. Cut locks cannot be returned. So let's say we've got it all sorted and cut. So now we've got everything in alignment. We know that it's correct. We're ready now to reinstall back into the door the new lock, and we do more or less everything in reverse. So the first job is to offer the lock into the door. Usually the door lock drops slightly, so I always choose the nearest screw level with my eye, lift the lock until you can see the hole at the back, and then offer in the screw. So here we go, lifting the lock slightly, and you can use one of the rollers to do that. Line it up, screwdriver at the ready. Once you've got one in, you know that every other one is definitely going to fall into place and go home correctly. So we'll put the screws back in. I'll just put those that are near the lock in first, and then we'll move on to just fitting the cylinder back in and the handle back in, and I'll put the remainder in later, but you can put them all in to start with. So once again, you've got the spindle, which I've put in the wrong hole as usual. Offer on spring from one side, screw holes to the inside of the house, that's fitted, spring on the other side, and second handle fitted. Now we want the two screws into the handle, but this time we don't want to screw them home tightly, just want to hold them in place. Just started. Just started. Now again with the key, put the key in, turn the key slightly so that it's in alignment, offer the cylinder through the door. It's worth pointing out that sometimes the distance from the centre of the cylinders are not exactly the same, so you may have to double check that you've got them the right way. Checking through the side for the screw position, Offer the screw back in again. Tighten gently, but do not over tighten, because what can happen is, as you over tighten, the cylinder can bend and then it won't function correctly. Lift the handle, check that it's running smoothly before you tighten the handle up. Don't over tighten the handle. Two screws, and for me, when I've fitted the remainder of the screws in here, that's a perfectly working locking mechanism. I hope that's been helpful for you. Join us again sometime later. Bye. The tools we think you should pull together to be able to remove and change a door lock on a residential door are either a battery screwdriver with a PZ2 bit in the end of it, or a PZ2 screwdriver and maybe a small scraper to be able to get down the edge of the lock to be able to bring it out of the door itself. And that's about all. Hope that's helpful.